What is going on?
What's happening, people?
What is this? I'm already losing track of episodes. What is this, episode 4, 5, 3, 4? I don't know. It's something like that. I don't care. I'm losing track. But,
Freestyling.
yeah. So, how was your week?
My week was great. It was lots of ups and downs, some success, some stress.
Yeah.
Actually, today I'm actually going to talk about something that happened that is relevant to today's topic.
Yeah. Well, that leads us right into it. So, last episode, we talked about, sales. We gave some tips, some pointers. We talked about some experiences. But today, I want to talk about something a process in sales that I think is extremely important. And I think, it's probably one of the most important processes in sales, which is the follow-up. Mm-hmm. Following up with clients.
Oh, yeah. That's a big piece.
Yeah, no, it is. But, so I kind of want, I this time I, planned out what we're going to talk about, trying to get better and better at this each time we do an episode. But yeah, I kind of want to open up to, follow-ups.
Yeah. So when it comes to the follow-up, everybody should have, again, I'm a big non-scripted guy, but everyone should have some structure to it. Just the basic, after that initial meeting, you collect information. We'll get into the details, but just from a high level, you collect information from the meeting. And from what you collect, both verbal and nonverbal, and just the whole vibe of the meeting, that should sort of set the map or the pathway of how you should handle your follow-up. Mm-hmm. For example, if someone's super, super, super busy, like it was difficult to get them on the calendar, you cannot assume that you can just keep calling them. You want to figure out sort of like what their schedule is. Not like you'll know the exact time, but you'll have a feeling like, okay, this guy's real busy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a process. I have like a step-by-step, a flexible process. And, like you said, everyone's different. Everyone, there's different times to call people. There's, different ways to approach them, over a phone. Everything changes. But, I have a process in order to stay organized. When you're in sales and you're making, 50 to 100 calls a day and you have to follow up with all those people who showed interest, you can get, it can get messy real quick. It can get very convoluted and you can lose track of things. And then you find out, a month later, you're like, shit, I meant to follow up with them. So, like I said, I have a couple different things that I keep in mind when it comes to, your follow-up process. And it's, one of them is keeping organized. I always use a software, CRM, something, to stay organized. I know you use Google Calendar, and I always see that shit, and it like stresses me out just looking at it. I'm like, yo, how do you do this?
You're putting me on blast here, but I don't care. Whatever, I'll keep it real because it's the Real Business Roundtable.
It works though.
There's a lot. Almost every CRM that I've tried, I can't stand. I can't stand the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
I can't stand the lack of customer support. So I figured out a way to use Google Calendar like a CRM. It's not like I'm technically sending out emails from it, but I'm actually just kind of managing and color coding my prospects or meetings that I have. And if somebody's not a client yet and they're coming through the pipeline, I have a color coding system.
I was going to say, the way you have it set up is actually, it looks really organized. It works for you.
Yeah.
For me, I needed something that, I am also like you. I don't like the bells and whistles. I don't like all that shit. But I've used Monday.com. I tried out a ton of them. Monday seems very simple. I like the customization. I like, it works with my workflow. Mm-hmm. But so to move on from that, so it's always organization. And then I always have, kind of like what you mentioned before, I always have a time that I can reach out to people. And I keep that in, in my CRM, what time to reach out to them. Normally it would be around 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Mm-hmm. And then it would be from like 2 p.m. to around 6 p.m.
Okay.
2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Yeah. But, and then also context. So those are the three things: organization, timing, context. In context, I mean, what are you sending to them? How are you getting that point of contact? It could be call, email, text, reaching out to them on social media. What is in that email? It's all about how you're reaching out to them and what you're sending to them. And I kind of have a process with that, but,
Yeah, so my style is more like when I'm in the meeting, I talk to them about their goals, about their challenges, and whatever it might be. I present their options, which I don't it's all based on the client, but typically when I go there, I already know the options, I already know the pricing in my head. I whip it up right then and there, bang, in the first meeting. Or sometimes if it's really involved, it's complex, I have to go back and draft it.
Yeah.
But based on the things that I collect in that meeting, like nonverbal cues, you can usually tell if somebody's spinning your wheels, like if they're serious or not. Just nonverbal cues, the way they kind of react to questions, their body language, stuff like that. You can get a feel, because when you start throwing numbers out there, you can get a feel for whether or not someone can digest that. The number one thing you want to find out when you're drafting a proposal and you're going to follow up with somebody based on that proposal that you gave them, or let's say you didn't give a proposal, you want to throw numbers out there, but you want to do it in a way that is calculated by first identifying what is their sales volume.
I feel like when you first throw out numbers, you're kind of testing the waters to see how they're going to react to those numbers, if they're going to have sticker shock, and then you can kind of form, what you want to, make the prop out to.
Yeah, it's a very intuitive, natural process for me. So I will first understand their annual sales. Then second, I want to know, where do they want their sales to be? And this specifically would be a client that's coming to us because they're not happy with their sales volume. Yeah. They're like, hey, I've been plateaued for 5, 6, 7 years, which happens. What can you do for me to help me break through that plateau? Well, hey, sir or ma'am, this is what we have. You're looking at a range of this to this or this to this, and you immediately look at their face. If they cringe in any way or react a negative facial expression, at that point, that's not for them. You want to scale back. You never want to give a proposal that made them cringe in any way. Now, the asterisks or the caveat or whatever you want to call it to that is, maybe they're not used to that investment. Maybe they're uncomfortable with that. You need to educate them why that investment would make a big change for their business, where you present that goal. So let's say they're doing $3 million a year and they want to be at $5 million a year. You present, well, the pathway to get to $5 million a year is we're going to have to do X, Y, and Z. I can do X and Y for 60% of the price point that we're looking at here, the investment required, but it might be a longer process. Sound fair? And they might go, well, okay, that's better for me. Once you get an understanding of what they can afford and what they're comfortable investing in, at that point, you have leverage and a better chance of closing that deal. Now, in how it's relevant to the follow-up is what you gain from that meeting in that meeting should dictate how you follow up.
That's what I was going to say. Like I said before, everyone is different, and you can find out a lot of information about how to structure your follow-up with that specific person in the initial meeting, even in the initial call. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's a lot you can find out. We kind of talked about, noticing body, movement and stuff like that in the last podcast, but, I see it. I like how you're connecting that.
Yeah, it's very, very important to collect as much data as possible, not just what's being said. Look at their eye movement, their body language. Do they scrunch their nose? Do they look uncomfortable? Do they look calm? Do they look at peace?
And so that's actually one of the reasons why I have like a couple key things that I look for. Sometimes when you're in a meeting with someone, if you haven't been doing this for too long, you don't know what to look for.
Exactly.
You don't know what to look for. And so I usually look for what their calendar looks like, how their schedule looks, what they relate to in content that you send them or context that you reach out to them.
Yep.
Just certain things like that I look for, and then I remember those things rather than trying to remember everything about them.
Yeah. So my approach, and I'm not telling people that my approach is the best approach. It's just the one that works for me. It's very, like I said, natural and intuitive. Mine is more assuming the sale.
Yeah. You got to take control of the conversation. That's a big point. Yeah. Assuming the sale.
Yeah. I go in there and as an expert, and I present myself first and foremost as a consultant. I'm in the business of growing businesses or helping businesses with their problems and taking it to the next level. That's what I do. That's my initial goal. It's not to sell you. I always say this. It's not to sell you something that you don't need and that's not going to help you. So when I say that to them and I preface that, it kind of lowers their defense because it's not, someone just, they're thinking about themselves, not the client. So I always make sure I get that, straightened out first. But then I want to, when I'm meeting with them and talking to them, and I'm in my mind, I'm thinking about that plan to follow up. When I'm following up, I'm assuming that they're taking the next step. I'm not going, please, sir, do you think we're going to do this? No.
When's the best time
It's now, hey, in regards to your kickoff meeting, what day would work best for you? Monday or Tuesday this week or next week? I'm assuming that they're moving forward because they met with me, they shared goals, they shared challenges, and I'm here to fix those problems.
Yeah, and what you're indirectly doing right there is taking control of the conversation.
Yeah.
In any follow-up, I try to stay away from, when would be the best time to reach back out about this? Or, I instead of saying that, I try to answer and cover any of their objections. And I say, I'm going to send this over tonight. Tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to give you a call. What time's usually the best time that you're available those days? Is it in the morning, afternoon? I take control of it because, if you give them options, then they're going to have time to think. You want that follow-up process to be as short as possible.
Yeah, and sometimes, unfortunately, during the follow-up process, either they'll talk to people that are supportive, or they'll talk to negative people that will talk them out of doing the things or making the investment to change their business for the better. We'll run into, unfortunately, spouses. We'll run into
Partners.
Armchair experts that maybe were into something a long time ago, or they think they know a lot about it. And then we have to kind of resell the client during the follow-up where we say, no, that's not the case. This is how it's going to work.
To protect yourself from that, in some cases, you want to try and cover any objections that that person may have before they go to their partner, their spouse, whoever it may be.
Yeah, and sometimes straight up, it's a money thing. The spouse is thinking, oh wow, how many purses could I buy with that? And they're not saying that to the.
Or they just don't want to spend that much money because they don't see the value in it. When you give someone information about the product or the service or whatever it is you're selling, and they have to go to a spouse or partner, whoever it may be, the person who is sharing the message isn't going to share it as well as you are. That's why you have to cover the objections before they go to their. The person.
Sometimes it's not just money. Like sometimes it's not just has to do with the money. I've had people compare the investment to buying a Corvette. They're like, "Well, I could buy a Corvette with that," and I'm like, don't like
It's
again.
about growing your business.
Yeah, it's a separate investment. It has nothing to do with what you could buy with that same amount of money. It's about doing something that's going to help you break out of the plateau that you're in. That's really what it comes down to.
Sometimes when I'm talking to someone who is interested in it and it's part of the follow process, and I'm talking to someone who is interested and they say, I'm going to have to talk to another person about this opportunity. Instead of just covering all your objections, what I try to do is to shorten that process, is to say, listen, this is going to happen inevitably. All this money is going to help build your business, or I wouldn't say it like that, but this opportunity is going to help you build your business. It's going to happen inevitably. So I'm going to send you over this information. I'll give you a call tomorrow. Take some time to let them know what's happening. And then if you'd like to invite them to the next call, by all means. I'd rather be the person sharing the information about the product or service than the prospect, because we're gonna give it how it is. We're gonna give it the way that they want to hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. A little bit about I don't know if you want to get into this yet, but do you want to talk about ghosting?
Sure. Yeah. I want to kind of circle back to other stuff, but yeah, we can talk about ghosting. I hate ghosting. I personally, I'm not new to this, but I personally don't really know how to handle ghosting because honestly, I know this probably shouldn't happen, but I allow my emotions to get in my way. No,
it's terrible.
Why haven't they answered me?
It is insane.
It's so unprofessional.
It's extremely unprofessional. I'm not going to say I've never ghosted someone in sales, but I try not to, just out of mutual, just
respect.
Just basic human respect. It turns my stomach to, I'll say, hey, straight up, I'm not interested. I don't want you to keep calling, but how about this? In 8 months, I might, if it's something that I might do in the future, I'll say, check in with me once a year. I'll say that. But when it comes to ghosting, both for the person being, sold to, it's just, you should let the salesperson know whether or not what the holdup is. If it's a term thing, like they don't want to sign on a contract for a long period of time, or whatever the term is, or if it's the investment required, or find, like, rather than ghosting, express what is the block, what is preventing you from
Or
going.
just simply
because
say no.
You know what? Not even for salespeople watching, for people doing the buying or potential buying or being sold to, if you express the block that's preventing you from moving forward, imagine if you just communicated that, maybe they could work it out in your favor and break that down. Unless you just don't want to be helped or you don't want the product or service, that's fine. But if you actually do need that product or service and you're just sitting there like, oh, there's this reason I can't do it, rather than not communicating to that representative who probably has authority or a direct line of communication to get you a more desirable deal or fix that issue that you have that's preventing you from moving forward, why not communicate that?
Yeah.
Seriously,
I
communicate
understand that.
So
Yeah.
ghosting is just a terrible practice.
But this is my
Yeah.
thing. So how do you handle ghosting? What I normally do is I've been ghosted a couple of times.
Oh,
and
man.
what I do is, once every other month, I'll say, hey, just looking to reconnect, see how things are going. If they're just not answering, I won't take them out of the CRM. I'll just leave it as ghosted. And then, if I have the date there, I'll go to the next year and reach out to them. Hey, how was your last season? But, that's how I handle it. It's just, I just kind of leave it. I don't really know. I personally don't know how to handle it. How would you?
I will base it on their level of interest. And I got a crazy story for everybody. It literally just happened the other day. It's the craziest one I've ever experienced with ghosting. So the way I handle it is I will, if they ghost me, they're not contacting me, based on what I gained from the initial meeting, the needs, what was going on. If the client really didn't have much going on, it was very wasn't much energy or motivation to do better, I'll walk away from a ghost. I'll touch base with them maybe in a year.
You got to keep touching base with them.
But like, I'll let them go for like 6 months. I won't even, like, if they're straight up ghosting me, like there's nothing. I'm like, okay, I have, and every salesperson's different, but my biz dev team, my calendar is full. I actually have had people not move forward in an initial meeting, and then they're trying to get another meeting with me, and my calendar is packed. So I'm like trying to squeeze in this second meeting, and I got to move meetings around. That's why it's like really important that if someone's serious, like if you really want to do something, like let's figure it out then and there, or whatever. But just my calendar is packed, and to get that follow up again is sometimes not easy. But yeah, so in regards to how I handle ghosting, I'll do it a few ways. I'll try phone calls, obviously, calls. Voicemail, text. If nothing happens, I would give it. So every week, I reduce my communication by probably 25 to 30%. Just out of respect. Just like, hey, maybe this person has something going on. Are they on vacation? So let's say they went a week or two with absolutely no response. I will send a quick text. Hey, sorry, don't mean to bother you. If you are on vacation or something like that, my apologies. I can get back to you at a later date. Now, this is specifically if they told you when to get back to them.
And then, yeah.
And that's something that in the initial meeting that you want to lay out right then and there. So there is a mutual understanding. When can I get back to you? Okay, hey, you want to discuss it with whoever or think about it or look at your finances. That's great. But when can I get back to you? Always get that date and that expectation laid out in that first meeting. Do not leave that first meeting so you have permission from them. You ready for my crazy story?
Yeah, I have a point to that. Real
Okay,
quick,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So in some situations, I just came up with this. When we've been ghosted, I'll try to do something a little bit different. I'll try to be funny. So we occasionally invite out people for cigars to meet with them. And so sometimes in some situations, and this has actually worked, I'll literally text them. If you have their direct number, I'll text them a picture of me holding a cigar and I'll say something along the lines of, "You're a fan of cigars," or something like that, just to start a friendly conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes they forget who you are, and they answer and they're like, "Oh yeah, I am a fan of cigars. Who is this again?"
Yeah.
If it's like a month or two later, whatever. People are usually really busy, but
Yeah.
and then there's sometimes I've heard where people will leave a ton of voicemails and be like, they'll leave another one and say something along the lines of, I began to have a great relationship with your voicemail. I'm something like just something funny that they can share with people, and it'll create some interest. But yeah, go with your story.
All right, you guys ready for this? I don't know if you can do a drum roll.
Are you gonna get in trouble?
I'm not gonna drop names. I would never do that. That's just rude.
Yeah.
But met with a company. Not even going to give the industry. I met with a company. Guy just acquired the company. He acquired it 2 years ago. He complained that the old owners were really old school. They didn't have a digital presence. And that's one of the areas that I provide consulting in is all digital landscape, social search, content, AI, all that stuff. I don't want to get into a sales pitch. All right. So met with him. He was very dissatisfied with what the old owner had when it comes to a digital landscape. And he was very, very interested. We were talking numbers. Those numbers worked for him. He gave me all the signals, nonverbal cues, and signs of being a serious buyer. He looked at everything and we talked numbers. Everything checked out. And he said, "I'm going to sign. I just want to let my significant other know that I'm signing this because it would just be disrespectful to do so."
Would you love to hear that?
He didn't say, no, so here's the thing. He didn't say that he needs the check or ask the significant other.
To let them know.
He said, "I'm telling them that I'm moving forward." And I was like, "Okay, great. Here's the paperwork." And before I head out, and he was all jolly and he shook my hand. He was all happy and excited. Before I head out, I said, "When can I get back to you?" And he looked at me. He goes, "Oh yeah, Monday or Tuesday, man. Absolutely. I'm ready. I'm excited." All right. Hey man, see you later. That's beautiful. It was like a symphony. It was like a perfect sales meeting. Monday comes. Just send him a quick text in the morning. "Hey, good morning. I know I promised I'd get back to you today." Dude, straight up crickets. So I'm thinking, okay, he's busy. Don't want to push. Let me wait till the afternoon. Let me give him a quick call. Nothing. And I didn't have the wrong phone number because I made him send me a text message in the meeting. He goes, "Oh yeah, let me get your cell phone. Yeah, dude, let me give you mine." It was like all like, he's just like, we had like this like down to earth bro conversation and we really clicked. He was like a younger entrepreneur. I kind of clicked with him. I think he was probably my age. And we like, yeah. And he was like super motivated. And so anyways, so this wasn't adding up in my mind. I go, okay, it's only been one day. Maybe he's got something going on. Second day, quick text message, quick call right in the morning, nothing. Left it alone. What I normally do in my process, I'll leave it alone. If I can't get a hold of them in the morning, I'll go to the afternoon. And then I said, "Hey, just want to catch you before the end of the day. Are you available to chat?" And that was after I called him a second time. Then a third day, Wednesday. This is 3 days past when I was supposed to get back to him. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's on vacation. "Hey man, if you're on vacation or something like that, my apologies. Just let me know. I'll get back to you when you come back." Crickets. So at that point on Wednesday afternoon, I decided I'm just going to pop in. If a potential client, I can tell they like me and we click, there's no problem with me popping in. 99.9% of the people that I pop into, they smile and they're happy. I popped in, and this is when it gets really weird. I literally saw him standing there speaking to someone, like about, I don't know,
Whatever it was.
It was in the place of business outside. So he was outside talking to someone. And I said, "Hey, how you doing?" Hey, I said his name. I just waved to him, like kind of motioning, "Hey, when you're done, I'd love to chat with you." And I saw him from far away look at the person that he was with and shake his head. He shook his head. I'm completely baffled. I'm completely confused. I drove out like 40 minutes. I'm excited to bump into this guy. Now, if we hit pause for a second, there was a couple times where I actually had a live client with us for like a year and a half. I'm in a meeting with them, talking to them. This is an active client. We're in a contract. We're working together. And he says, yeah, text that to me. And we're in the meeting face to face. Oh, yeah, let me just text you this image real quick of this really cool graphic. Text. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, did you text that yet? Yeah, I did. I didn't get it. What do you mean? Let me try again. Hey, man, I'm not getting it. Oh. So I get up. I go, can I look at your phone? Like, can I see the profile? I go, and I look at it. I scroll on an iPhone. I'm like, dude, you blocked me. And he's like, what?
That happens to you a lot.
So he's like, oh my God. Oh. And in my defense, I'm very proactive with follow-up, okay? You got to be proactive. You can't be passive. You can't be too aggressive.
So back to your story.
Back to the story is...
I want to hear the end of this.
This guy, again, he accidentally blocked me. So when he was done speaking to somebody, he was walking towards me. He made a reference, and I'm not going to say the reference. He made a reference to people who have
solicit a lot.
Yeah.
So
he was like, "Hey, what are you, blank?" And I was like, "Oh," I said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry." I was wondering if like you accidentally blocked my number or something. I was like, "Dude, did you get any of my texts?" Like I was kind of like smiley and I could just see. And he looks at me. And he's like, you know what, man? He had his hands like this. He's like, you know what, man? If you're gonna blow up my phone, I'm just not interested. You know what? I'm done. About faces and walks away. This is a guy that was happy, giggly. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this. I was fighting with myself internally, like, how do I deal with this first disrespect? I just walk away, but I actually I put in a little bit of my halfway where I was like, no. Walked right up to him. He turns around. I looked at him just like this. I'm like, hold on here. You told me to contact you Monday, right? And he's like motioning like
he was about to come up with an excuse
like bullshit and just like this. And I'm not stupid. I'm guessing that possibly the spouse didn't want to do it. You know what? Just tell me that.
Yeah.
Tell me that and I'm gone. No problem. Hey, we'll touch base in a year. But now
people don't know how to do that these
the
days.
Ghosting caused an extremely awkward situation where first he disrespected me really bad with the about face thing.
Yeah.
This is a guy that shook my hand, all giddy,
excited, yeah.
Give me the paperwork, we're going to book the kickoff, let's do this and that. And then I'm like, I would have not texted him that much if I did not have instructions from him to do so.
Yeah.
So that was the worst ghosting situation. It's funny, it just happened. That's the worst ghosting situation in my entire career that started in 1996 for sales. That was the worst one. That was the worst follow-up experience I've ever had, where he was just completely like a different person. Mm-hmm. And I did the right thing. I sent him one last text. I said, hey, I'm not sure if you were having a bad day. My door's always open if you ever need me. And I walked away and I left it alone. But like when he like insulted, like the insulting way he ended that, I'm like, dude, you told me to do this. Like I'm just following your instruction. Like, what do you want to do? You want to wait a month? Whatever. But like, I'm not a high pressure guy like that. If someone says, hey, I'll be ready for this financially in a month, dude, I'm contacting you in a month. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to talk to you before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your follow-up should always have some like level of respect. And your follow-up should always be in line with what they want. It's not always about you as a salesperson. It's about what they want and what they need and what they're comfortable with. It is your job as a salesperson to get through those issues or those obstacles that's preventing them from moving forward. But you always want to make sure that with each potential customer that you are getting some form of guidance from them on the follow-up.
Yes. So my whole process kind of follows that. And then I also have a little bit of an automation. So normally, people say, you usually get the sale between the 6th and 9th point of contact. And so what I'll normally do is, I'll have that phone call or the first meeting, And then right after the meeting, you always want to send an email with information on it. After that, I'll have another phone call. I usually space them out, a couple days. I don't let it sit for too long because then it gives people too much time to think about it. Maybe they'll forget, this and that, whatever. I try to keep those first 5 points of contact, pretty close together. In the first, within the, a little less than a week possibly. But this is not me calling them 5 times or texting them 5 times or, emailing 5 times. Like I'll go on LinkedIn after so normally call, meeting, send them information, call them back, follow up with them. And then if they don't close by that time and I can't get a second meeting, then what I'll do is I'll send them some more information, a client success story. And then I'll, connect with them on LinkedIn and text them, whatever, go from there. Another follow-up call, try to get them into a second meeting. But I'm going to give a little secret.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? I feel like I might regret, saying this because it has helped me a lot with, reaching out to people and getting in touch with people. But what I'll do, after I send them information, I'll give them a call, like I said before, and then I'll send them a client success story. I have an integration on my email.
Oh, yeah.
That allows me to know when someone opens up an email or opens up an attachment.
That's good.
Or clicks on a link. And what I'll do is 5 to 10 minutes after they open that link or open that email, I'll get a notification. I'll give them a call. Almost every single time I'll get them on the phone and they'll be like, oh, what a coincidence. I was just checking out your email.
Yeah.
And I say, oh man, I guess it's, luck on my end, good timing. And then right there, I'm like, listen, I only have a minute or so. Yep. I know you showed some interest. I'd love to get things going, share with you how the kickoff goes. Let's schedule a meeting for later this week. I have this time. And they usually say, okay, let me check out my schedule. And it usually sets up a second meeting. And on the second meeting, if you're not closing, then, you're going to have to do a little bit more of a follow-up, maybe start from the beginning. But that's my little secret. I don't remember the name of the integration or anything like that, but that has helped me out a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I hope I don't regret.
Yeah. You'll hit me up. It'll be like 8 o'clock at night. You'll be like, yo,
they opened up.
XYZ opened up the email. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah. In that situation, if it's that late, I'll leave it alone. I'll call them the next morning because you don't want to call someone that's after business hours unless you have a good repertoire with them.
Yeah, unless I'm like real tight with the prospect or even client. I'll develop really close relationships with some clients and I'll feel comfortable enough to talk to them at like 10 o'clock or not 10 o'clock, but like maybe like 8 or 9 at night. I feel fine with, we'll just shoot the shit and talk about whatever. Some clients are like that. Some prospects end up like they didn't move forward yet, but we're really cool.
Yeah.
Like, who we're talking about. Yeah. So like we're really cool with certain.
we do a really good job with the clients that we have. And normally that leads to a really great relationship.
Yeah.
You get references. It's a personal relationship. We've hung out with some people that we work with.
Oh yeah.
I want to kind of go back to that though. So, like you said, you want to respect their time, how they feel, this and that, but you always want to have a flexible process. I kind of mentioned this before. I was just going over it. Phone call meeting, information right after the meeting, the same day, right after the meeting. 2 days later, I usually do a follow-up call. And on that follow-up call, I try to set up another meeting. Listen, if they have, they need a little bit more time, that's totally fine. Between that, I'll send them client success stories. That's another point of contact, an email with client success stories. Then I'll go on LinkedIn, connect with them. Yeah. Hey man, thanks for connecting. Looking forward to working with you. Looking forward to reconnecting with you. 2 days after that, I'll call them again. And then at that point, that's probably the 6th, point of contact, I'll be a little bit more aggressive. I'll say, listen, it's inevitable that this is going to happen. Let's get a second meeting. If you have any questions, pending questions, we can answer it then. We can share with you what the kickoff meeting looks like and just all that sort of stuff. That's my process, and it seems to have worked really well from the amount of times that I've fucked up with my follow-ups. You know what I mean? And you know exactly the stories I'm talking about. I have messed up horribly with my follow-ups.
And that's how you learn.
Yeah.
I didn't come out of the womb, an expert at everything. There are some things that you need to learn. You got to fall down, dust yourself off, and, learn from your mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
And these, sometimes you got to learn the hard way. What I've learned is that you cannot have one platform or one, you can't have one way of calling. You can't call someone 10 times in a week or 10 times in 2 weeks. You got to diversify your follow-up. Following them on social media, connecting with them, liking something that, creating some sort of, a relationship connection with them through social media platforms, that's a point of contact. You're going to be in the back of their head because you like to post on Instagram or you liked something on LinkedIn, you connected with them. That's a point of contact. So it doesn't always have to be email, phone, professionalism, this, that. It can be like on social media. You're just trying to connect
down
with
to
them.
earth. That's what it's about.
Trying
Be
to
down
build
to
a
earth,
relationship.
keep it real with them and just be straight up. And don't, every time you speak to them, don't just talk about them moving forward. And these are the more of like the long-term, people in the pipeline that are probably like maybe a year or two out on, with doing something with you. Don't throw it in the trash. Just, set it out, here and there to touch base and just to say hi or whatever. Hey, how are things going?
Yeah.
I've talked to people who straight up told me no. And I contact them a year later and they're like, you know what? I think I should have done that with you. Because they're looking at their numbers and they're like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. That leads me back to, keeping organized. That's a huge part of my follow-up process.
Yep.
You got to be organized. I mentioned it before. You don't want your CRM or whatever to be unorganized. You're going to get stressed out. I've been finding, I'm always adding new stuff to trying to be organized, and it helps me out a lot. Recently, this is a little bit off topic, but recently I got this. This journal has honestly been so therapeutic for me. Everyone who's listening to this, go out, invest in a journal. It doesn't have to be a diary. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It can just be somewhere where you can jot down notes, thoughts, ideas, goals, anything.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot.
I love it.
I used to do it a lot. So
therapeutic.
I actually got the advice from a doctor. He was an eye doctor. Knew him many, many, many years ago. And he knew the formula on how to learn anything. He says learning is based on three. And this was a really smart guy. This guy was super, super intelligent. He was a actual like eye surgeon. Like he's a guy that can work on your eyeball. And I would see, I would see, see him reading books, very, 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 thick medical books and stuff like that. And I'd watch him like take notes and stuff like that. And I said, what are you doing? Because I'm like, what? Are you reading the book or are you summarizing? He said, learning is broken up into 3 steps and you can learn anything. He says, first, you read the book. He said, second, he goes, you read the book again, but you take notes from the book and you summarize each chapter. The third step, which is the final step, you take your notes and then you summarize those notes in a much more condensed Cliff Note-esque type of short form summary of that book, of your notes. So it's first read the book, take notes on the book, summarize your notes on the book. And then he says you will literally tattoo whatever in your brain, because as a doctor, you gotta like remember certain things, like how certain things work or this and that, and that was his process on learning.
Yeah. That reminds me of a podcast I listened to recently. They were talking about how, fitness, you strain and stress your muscles in order to grow them. And this guy was talking about neural elasticity, which is like how it's essentially like learning. It's like stressing your brain out to learn more. And just kind of like what you did there, like what you were explaining there, kind of reminded me of, working out your brain and stuff like that.
Yeah. I did that. I followed those instructions. I read a couple books, did the same exact thing, and that stuff is legit tattooed in my brain. It's like there forever. It actually really worked. I tried it. I was like, well, I'm not going to read a medical book. I'm like, let me do this for like a sales book or a business book. Yeah. And it's crazy.
Well, the exact process in order to like learn something and become, a professional at it. It takes some, I don't know if this is the right term to use. I think the guy was a doctor, maybe, I'm not really sure, but neural elasticity, the process of learning. I guess it's just another way of, saying you're learning something.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's a little off topic, but, other areas when it comes to follow up, we want to maybe talk about, like I was referring it to a serious score.
Yes.
How serious is the prospect? The serious score in your mind should be, again, based on the things that you collect in the meeting.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's like a lead prospect quality score. It's, depending on what that score is based off of your, what you've seen, working with that person, it's going to be how much attention you put onto that onto that prospect.
Yeah. So in your mind, you should give yourself, a 1 to a 10, the serious score for the prospect.
Or in your CRM.
Yeah. Or put it, in your mind or in your CRM and like figure out, okay, where's this guy at with how serious he is? And that should set the stage for your follow-up tempo.
Yeah.
Because if they're hot to trot, they're ready to go, boom, 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 you need to move quick.
Yeah.
You need to move quick. If they're not signing that day, you need to follow up. As long as it's a business day, you need to follow up that following day. And then, or you got people that based on like their eye movement, and you're talking about price, and you can see them thinking, you want to figure out what they're thinking about, but that, they may be like a 6 or 7 versus someone that's going literally, I want to do this. I just got to tell my accountant or I got to tell this person.
Yeah.
That's a hot one. That's a real.
I want to add to that. I've heard, throughout my experience that not enough salespeople follow up. And I think that was kind of one of the driving factors of why I wanted to do this, make this a big topic today. Through my experience as well, I've, heard from many people that I do a really good job. From firsthand, I've had multiple people try to hire me because of how I follow up with people, and not enough people do it. Don't be afraid to follow up. It's going to show dedication. Listen, in some situations, and I've learned, you can be a little bit too much, but as long as you diversify your follow-up and you do it the right timing, you keep it between 2 weeks, a month, as long as you do it right, it's going to show dedication. You're going to gain a lot of respect from that person, from that prospect. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to follow up. It is extremely valuable. You could say that a lot of the money is in the follow-up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. And another thing to keep in mind is, not just electronic and social media or not just, social media or email or phone. What works for me? Physical pop-in. If they're close by and I'm in the area.
I guess it all depends on the size and the industry of the business. But no, I mean,
I'm going to knock on that door and just say,
hey, we were in the area. Thought we'd stop in.
How are things going? Just want to get back to you. Yeah. And most of the time it goes fine. I've had a couple times where they were kind of thrown off a little bit, but it's better than just not doing anything. Like if you're not getting traction with what you're trying, and if you're in the area,
change it up.
You see the company right there. Hey, just pop in, say hello.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? Just want to. And body language is huge. When you do a pop in on someone, this is an unannounced visit. And you got to do it only to certain businesses that will be okay with that.
Yep.
If you get a vibe,
don't walk in everywhere.
Yeah, not everywhere. Not everywhere.
You'll get the same expression that he got.
Yeah. Not everywhere, but some you can pop in and always motion like the business comes first. Like I always tilt myself to the right side. So if there's a front reception area and someone else is coming in and there's a secretary helping someone, I always motion my body to the right or to the left, out of their way, where I'm not interrupting business. I'm being respectful. And I'll always like put my hand like on my chest, or like I'll motion like I'm not trying to interrupt things. I just wanted to check in with you. Like I'll do this or this. Like I can step out. Like I'm also.
We could have an entire 2-hour episode on body language.
Yeah. So I'm
mirroring
what I'm doing for my body language is I'm literally, say the door's behind me, right? I'm motioning like, hey, I can friggin' leave right now. Not trying to interrupt things. I'm like, my apologies, just don't want to interrupt things, or I'll kind of do this with my hand, like just checking in with you. I'll do this move like this, like just checking in. This is second nature to me. It's not like I'm sitting planning out how I'm going to move. It's just body language. It's how I naturally go. It's like, I'm like, how could I show the client, and this is all subconscious, how could I show the prospect, the potential client, that I'm respectful that they're running their business, but I'm just trying to get back to them?
Yeah, body language and expression is extremely valuable.
So I do this like turn thing where like I can leave. It's not a problem. I won't be offended. Just checking in with you. Where are things at? Should I circle back next week? And then they'll go, actually, yeah, come have a seat. I was meaning to get back to you about this. Then we'll have the meeting and boom, 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 it's done. Like right then and there, because I followed up in person.
Yeah, I mean, there's other ways to get a little bit creative with it. I think we touched it, last episode we were talking about sales, like sending a phone and having it ring in the box and all that crazy shit. But, like I mentioned before, sometimes, even when it's, not a ghosting situation, just to make it a little bit playful, make it human, like let them know that you're a human.
Yeah, be on a human level. Bring it
I'll
down.
send them
Bring
a
it
picture
down
of a
bit.
cigar.
Yeah,
I'll be like, hey man, you like cigars? Would love to grab one with you sometime.
People don't like the robotic bullshit.
No,
They
you
don't
can't
like,
be like
that. That's gonna just, I don't know. People tune you out. You just want to be a person.
You know what's also really valuable? When you're sending them information, before you send them client success, maybe it's just an attachment to the meeting follow-up email.
Yeah.
It's sending them a video of you. Hey, what's going on? It's Jake.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. We're, giving information about that product, a video of you, and end it with, I'm really looking forward to meeting with you next. Just videos are very powerful. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think the tempo and the tone of the follow-up and how you follow up really sets the stage on how fast are they going to reply to you.
Yeah.
I've followed up with people, and I've had people go, that voicemail made me feel like I have to get back to you. Because in the voicemail, I'll say something like, hi there, I know you're a busy guy. Trying to be respectful of your time, but at the same time, I'm just trying to get back to you about our discussion about doing X, Y, and Z. At your earliest, just give me a heads up. Let me know. And if, there's something going on, we can push it out a bit. But I'd greatly appreciate it if you kindly do give me a quick heads up. Because the word kindly, and I learned this from my business partner, is the word kindly has a huge impact on people. If you could kindly get back to me, just give me a quick update. Yeah. Say that, kindly. Yeah. If you could kindly give me a quick update, get back to me, that'd be great, be much appreciated. I've had people call me back and say, hey, I really should be getting back to you. I'm sorry. They'll actually apologize. Yeah.
No, I've had that some situations. Like a good time. Maybe we should wrap it up and.
Yeah. So for the people watching, feel free to leave some comments.
Yes, I would love to see comments.
Well, throw out. Let's talk about your follow-up experiences. If there's something that we didn't cover, put it in the comments, and maybe we'll do another round talking about follow-ups, and we'll answer those questions for you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're trying to educate, entertain, inspire.
All that sort of stuff. Yeah. In the past couple episodes, I know, I've kind of looked over them, and I know we've missed out a couple things, but we're, bear with us. We're still in the early stages.
Yeah, this is a brand new channel, guys, and I've never done this before, ever. I've talked about it for many, many years. I've had many clients say that you need to do this.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the time, so I dedicated a day of the week to this initiative, and I think it's going to be good. The brass tacks, educate,
inspire, motivate. I also want to have some fun with it.
Absolutely.
I think we mentioned it the last episode. I'd love to, have some themes on them, and there's just so much stuff I want to add to this. This is literally the grassroots of our podcast.
Yeah.
I want to grow with this. I want to, do some, I want to create a big platform with this. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining us again. You catch us, I think, what is it? Twice a week now? We're either going to do once a week or twice a week.
But I'm trying to shoot for twice a week.
Yeah. I essentially like twice a week, but you can find us on every social platform: Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter. We're going to be adding them all. They're all already there. We're going to be adding some more. And yeah, thank you for joining us. Like, subscribe. Thanks for viewing.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. Peace.